Welcome, welcome. This is G back with another video to talk about another celestial event, Allastrology. And we're going to talk about the first full moon of 2023. Yep. We're going to pull up the chart. We're going to go through it. And we're just going to look at some of the finer, some of the smaller things that could add up to big things when we put them all together. So a full moon in general, full moon always means it's a release because it's a culmination of our emotions, right? You see how this moon out in the sky can be really like a sliver. And then sometimes you'll see it's bigger. And then the next time you'll see it and it's even bigger, right? And then you'll see it where it looks like it's full. And then you'll hear a couple days later, someone's like, yeah, did you see last night's full moon? And it's like, last night's full moon? I just saw that full moon like, it seemed like it was 5 days ago, right? Yeah, because when it gets to that point where it looks like it's full, it's still growing, right? It grows and it grows and it grows. So many times you can look at it and think that was the full moon. But my whole point of explaining this is that when it does reach its peak, the point that we consider its full moon, it is like it gets to that peak and then it kind of ebbs and flows over. So what happens, right? It builds and builds and builds. And then what happens is I'm not going to say that it explodes. It's not an explosion, but it's really like if you think of a waterfall, how it gets to that edge and then it comes rushing out and it flows out. So it's a release, a flow. And the moon rules the sign of Cancer. And this matters because the moon and the sign of Cancer, we understand, the meanings of those to be like warm, nurturing, mom, family, emotions, right? Feelings, emotional needs, security, but it's emotional security, right? So I have a family, right? Emotional security. When you were a baby, if you missed mom or if mom wasn't around enough, you might have had like a security blanket because it reminded you of mom or it soothed you in some way, right? Emotional needs. So the moon and Cancer energy culminating and getting to this point where it's like, okay, it's over, it's done, it's a completion. And so that's just the natural moon cycle. Okay, this isn't some big horrible thing. This happens all the time. Every month we get a full moon, and every month we get a new moon. And some months we may even have like a double, right? There might be months where it's spread out just enough where you could have a full moon at the end and the full moon at the beginning or the new moon. It just depends on what's going on. But the cycle is you got a full moon, and then it starts to go backwards. It starts to decrease. You'll see it getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it's black and you don't see it anymore in the sky. And that's typically it's working towards its new moon cycle. Right. The new moon is when the moon is completely blackened and we don't see it. Right. And then from there, it starts to build again, right? 28 days, right? What does that sound familiar with? A woman's cycle, right? 28-day cycle. Very interesting. They're connected. They absolutely are. So it's really powerful, right? It controls the emotions. And so that's the whole thinking behind don't let your emotions control you because they can be big and powerful. And we can sometimes make not the best choices when our emotions are just not the best place to make or time to make choices or decisions or to even speak sometimes, right? If we're really, hot about something or, just riled up and emotionally unstable even can happen depending upon what we're talking about. Like if something occurred, it can be, emotional instability. So it can be tricky. So there's an ending though, right? Now, tying this all together, if there was something that was happening and then it reached like that building phase of the moon and then it ended because it reached its peak and it was done, finding out where the full moon happens in your chart is how you understand how it affects your life. Like in what category of your life, what bucket, as I like to say, right? So this can be with your body, this can be with your money, this can be with the way you talk and think and communicate. This can be literally at home, like your physical home. This can be have to do with pets or even your health or your pet's health, right? Or your job and the routines at your job. Or this can be in love and partnerships. Or this can be in deep emotions, like bonded energy, like our shared emotions, right? Our shared resources, even tangible resources for people who are married. Then it could have to do with religion and spirituality and our beliefs. What do you believe in, right? Our beliefs. That's a big one. We've been dealing with that big time with the pandemic and just, well, there's just been so many things now that it's all about a difference of beliefs. And I can't believe you believe that. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you really think that. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you, that whole thing. We've been really, yeah, we've just, it feels like we've been through the ringer a few times and we're always hearing something different. And we're always just like, okay, so this is the next thing, and it's just like, it's become common now where almost like nothing should surprise us anymore. So, um, completions. Think of it as writing a book or reading a book. Think of it as you were working on a project and you finally reached the end of it. And so it's over. It's done with. It is a natural cycle. Okay. So now I'm going to pull up this chart so that we can see like where's Mars, where's Mercury, because those are important. Of course, we'll look at the sun and the moon because that's what makes a full moon is when the sun is at one end and the moon is at the exact opposite. Now, many believe that the sun represents masculine energy, somebody who's in charge, an authority figure. All right. Many believe that the moon is the mother, which can also be somebody in charge. Think about that, right? It's the home, it's the family, typically feminine energy. Okay. So out here, masculine, it's external. It is definitely outward. It's something that the world is aware of and the world sees on the world stage. So it can be your job, your goals, your ambition. And inward, internal emotions and feelings, home and family, the moon, feminine, can be mom as well. All those things I just covered. And yes, even your physical home. So think about that. You go to the job and you're dealing with people. You're all around different people, depending upon what your job is, right? You might be somewhat secluded, but you're not hidden necessarily unless you work from home. And that's kind of like home. It's more internal, it's more hidden, right? Even if people know you out in the world, they go to your house and they see how you live. And that's a whole different thing. It's not the same at all, right? And then many times there's that push and pull. It's difficult to balance home and work, right? To balance home and work. And sometimes there's a struggle. And so when we have something opposing at opposite ends, opposing, we call that an opposition. And the moon is very strong in the sign of Cancer. And yes, this is a full moon in the sign of Cancer, the first full moon of 2023. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.